Next up is a Fireside Chat with McClure, Head of Creative Strategy and Player Engagement for Electronic Arts. Now, Liam is going to talk to us about the importance of community and how a Western IP became one of the most successful games in Japan last year, Apex Legends. Now, take it away, Liam. That's my favorite game. Did you guys know that?
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm Sean. I run a couple of gaming contests in Malaysia, such as One UC, Gamer Braves, and Gamer Santai, and also Gamer Weka from Indonesia. And today we're gonna talk to Liam from EA, to talk a little bit about like how EA run your games in Southeast Asia or Asia in general. Hey Liam, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Sean. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this gamescom Fireside Chat. My name's Liam McClure. I'm the head of creative strategy and player engagement for Asia at EA. My role is pretty diverse. It kind of mixes across all platforms from HD to free-to-play, our Asia studio titles. And now we're also looking at mobile too. So it's a very broad role that covers strategy, content, creators, community. And I'm really happy to be here. So thank you. Thanks for the time today, Sean, to have a chat.
You're welcome. Liam, you speak about, you talk about like you also run mobile games here. We all know that Apex Legends is a huge hit in the market. And I think recently there was an announcement saying that Apex Legends mobile is coming. And I think right now the beta is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only available in Philippines and in India. Like, why is the reason, choosing both of these countries?
Sure. But it's expanded a little bit further now. We're actually kind of up and running in LATAM regions, and we're going to be heading into the Middle East fairly soon as well, as we slowly start to test out and understand kind of how the game handles and how it plays. The reason why we go in there, I think, is the same as a lot of mobile publishers. The Philippines and India, for example, there's a huge number of mobile gamers. It's just such a large population of people who play mobile, they know mobile, and it's a great way to be able to get experienced people to test. And that's what it is. It's a way of understanding how the game can play, what we need to tweak, what we need to change. So hitting scale is a big part of it. But then, of course, there's a lot of English speakers within India and Philippines as well. So it helps us in that, while we're soft launching the game, will not be fully localized. But, having people who at least can speak English allows them to experience and give us kind of really good feedback on what their view is and what they think of the game so far. So, it will be a kind of few more regions will be opening up soon enough, and we can't wait to launch the title.
So the primary reasons, because that people, I think gamers over there in Philippines and India, they speak English. So that's the primary reason that you pick these two places. So you also spoke about that localizations. Can you tell us more about that, or can you tell us more about the localization?
Sure. I think localization is it's an interesting one. It's kind of like a key part of my job. I think part of my role is working with our global teams to make sure they understand that we go beyond localization, and it's actually culturalization that we really want to drive and focus on. Localization obviously speaks to language in game, whether it be menus, whether it be VO, but then also to the content as well. And I think kind of with the mobile space, there's definitely more opportunities for us to understand what content we can put together that will resonate kind of within a region. Obviously, off the top of my head, if we had a game in India, perhaps we could actually look to create some, festival-related content specific to India. So it's kind of, really understanding how we show up as a brand and ensuring that our players kind of see themselves within our titles.
Do you think that there's a chance where Apex Legends Mobile will be localized in different languages in Southeast Asia?
Definitely.
Okay, that's very good to hear. I think that's a very good news. So because Apex Legends is actually it is a PC game, right? So then you guys launch a mobile version of it. Do you think that this would actually affect the player base for for PC player base?
I think it'll be interesting to watch. I don't think it will negatively impact anything. I think what is important is that it's going to add to the brand. It's going to give people a new way to play Apex Legends. So if you're, a hardcore PC player, you might well jump into the mobile version, now and again. Perhaps you're on your way to school or on your way to work and you want to jump into a quick round on the bus. But then at the end of the day, I feel that the actual players who play kind of across PC, console, mobile, their motivations are very different. And the actual audiences we're speaking to will be very different. So I'm hoping that, initially we'll see a huge celebration of kind of this new title being brought to the Apex world. But then afterwards, I think we'll actually see, a unique Apex audience kind of carve its own niche out. Across all the different Asia regions. So yeah, I think there'll be a spike in users, and then the PC players will be like, right, that was awesome. I'm gonna stick to my mouse and keyboard and maybe play occasionally on mobile.
Okay, literally every friends that I have in Japan that I spoke to, literally every one of them heard about Apex Legends. Like, what do you think that actually contributes to Apex Legends success in Japan?
Well, a lot of hard work, I think, has definitely gone in there. But I think there's a couple of key things. The first one, like on the business side of things, is that we've got an awesome team. There's a fantastic group of people who work on Apex Legends. They're extremely passionate and put a lot of effort into, driving marketing campaigns, coming up with ideas and identifying opportunities. So that's definitely kind of a big point. The other is the collaboration we have with Respawn. So obviously Respawn, at the end of the day, they build this incredible product and we're lucky enough to kind of work with it. I think we've really strong kind of bonds with them, and we have regular conversations, regular catch-ups. We work in unison when it comes to what we want to do. And I think there's a level of trust there as well, which kind of allows them to know that we're the experts of the regions. We know what we're doing, and we can really kind of understand our players and how best to position Apex in the region. If you move away from the business side, it's all about community. At the end of the day, I think that Japan has just got such a ferociously passionate community that just love Apex. Personally, I decided to start learning Japanese, jumped on Twitter and started talking to as many people as I could about Apex. And, it's been incredible to see just this game being adopted and, starting off with a lot of kind of core FPS players, but now we're seeing it kind of really go to, a whole new level of kind of broad mass entertainment within the region. So those are kind of the key kind of initial kind of functional parts that kind of have led to our success. But I think there's a little bit of a story around kind of how we got to where we are now. So I think it must have been like season 3. I think we actually were looking in Asia and we were trying to understand how the game was functioning. Where was it going well? Where were people satisfied? What could we see kind of within our data? And there were like rumblings in Japan. There were like little like spikes of social volume or conversation or positive sentiment. And we saw this and we were like, this is a standout from the rest of the regions. We can see that there is a core group of community forming here and people are very engaged. So from there, we kind of decided, right, well, let's take a proper run at this and really kind of go at it. So we actually built out a really simple but player-first strategy. And it was almost like an ethos of how we had to approach Japan in order to, make sure we were like ticking the boxes to ensure that we were showing up correctly. So it was just, a very kind of straightforward process of, the key driver of it being, we wanted to make moments. So that was kind of, identifying, season launches, for example, where moments that we wanted to pull together our community. We wanted to celebrate with them about the awesome new kind of season that was coming to the title. And then, yeah, just kind of find new ways in which we could make these moments, harness everybody, pull everyone together and get everybody engaged with the title. So that was kind of the super top line strategy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went on around beside that too. So, we did a lot of social listening. We wanted to understand kind of what conversations were happening, what people were talking about, what was really resonating. Because I think one of the key things that we really want to drive within the region is highlighting these differences, and being able to take this to our global counterparts in North America or Europe, and really highlight kind of the content you're making is fantastic. In Asia, can we dial up this aspect of it to ensure that we're really kind of connecting to our audiences? And that went really well. That became a very habitual thing. And I think the best example I have is that we leaned into creators and influencers in a big way around Apex. We found that there was an organic group of people who were already creating content, but then we could also we've got strong partnerships with a number of creator agencies within Japan. And everybody was really interested in playing the game, which is half of the battle. We want this to be authentic. We want content to be real. We want people to be able to express themselves through this game. So we actually started fueling our influencer content with our social listening, so that the content itself had functionality that could answer community questions or community issues. And it wasn't just coming from an EA branded account, it was coming from somebody that they were interested in and that they followed. So yeah, I mean, I think the content creators for us just took it to another level. I'm pretty sure we're over 2 billion views organically in Japan since launch. So I've not checked that number for a while, so it might be a bit higher now. I think it probably is, but yeah, don't quote me on that one.
When you talk about content creators, I was hoping that you talk about VTubers, you see.
Yeah. I mean, I think VTubers were super interesting. I think I first saw.
Do you watch them?
Yeah, I do. I mean, my Japanese is not fantastic, but for me, it's almost like a learning process as well. It's like I'll catch little snippets here and there and start to understand a bit better. But I do watch them. I think I think I first saw Shibuya Haru playing in maybe season 3 or season 4, and I think he was maybe one of the first VTubers that I'd actually seen and been like, wow, okay, so this is what a VTuber is. And it's just such an interesting, form of video entertainment. I think it gives, these people the ability to build up these larger than life characters. And they generate such huge following. The community that's behind the VTubers is, super passionate. And we're seeing, the VTubers going from, creating gaming content to becoming brands unto themselves. And, I think we've seen them starting to do a lot of music. We've seen a lot of brand merch starting to come together. We managed to work with Haikiken and over in Japan. And we actually turned Haikiken, who's, one of the biggest Japan gaming YouTubers, or YouTubers full stop. And we actually turned him into a VTuber. So he was playing with Shibuya Haru and Kazuya at one of our season launches. So, we really saw that this was an opportunity, and it was super cultural. And we were able to jump in and take part. I think it was a big success, and, just another one of those opportunities that, you can see when you're listening and paying attention.
Do you think that the influence of VTubers will actually spread from, Japan to all over the world?
Oh, 100%. I think that's already happening. I think there's, the name escapes me right now, but I do know of, there's an Australian VTuber who plays Apex, is extremely highly skilled. We're starting to see more European VTubers coming up. And I believe there's actually a lot of interest in the Japanese VTubers from kind of the European audience as well. They have international fandoms. It's really interesting to see that come to life.
Do you think that, because VTubers is initially it was primarily a Japanese-based audience, right? So it's a very Japanese thing. So when an English person voiced a VTuber avatar, do you think that it would actually Do you think people actually accept that easily, or do you think that people should prefer to listen to Japanese?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think as long as the person's showing up and, are showing, I don't know, I guess kind of showing where VTubers come from. I think I don't think I think traditionally it is Japanese 100%. I think it probably allows people to, as I said, build these characters that maybe they wouldn't otherwise be in real life, but the VTuber world allows them to express themselves in different ways. So I don't think that's exclusively Japanese. The origin is, but I think everybody can benefit from being a VTuber if they want to be.
I agree on that. So like Japan used to have a pretty strict rule in terms of esports prize money, but I think they actually relaxed it during 2018. How does this actually affect Apex? Do you think it actually fuels the growth of Apex?
Oh, 100%. I think over the last, what is it? I don't know, it must be maybe the last year, maybe a bit longer actually. Yeah, it's a little bit longer, but it feels that there's been a cultural shift within Japan when it comes to competitive gaming. It feels that organizations are now able to, show up, and there's money involved now that enables them to be professional. It allows them to put prize money at a level that is benchmarked to the rest of the world. It allows them to pay their pro players a livable salary. It definitely feels that there's been a real shift in that space over the last kind of little while. I mean, I think some examples, we see Crazy Raccoon, a Japanese outfit, a lot of Korean players within that team. They've kind of gone from being almost, like a pro team organization, and they're much more now kind of almost following the lines of, maybe not following, but, along similar lines of, some of the Western brands like 100 Thieves, or some of the kind of more lifestyle, cultural, connected, they've got connections to the music world, the art world. So it's not just esports. They're actually kind of really starting to develop this really unique ecosystem within Japan. Other teams like Fennel, Reignite, Riddle, all of these teams they're becoming bigger and bigger, and you can see them developing as brands unto themselves, which is really exciting. I think we see a mixture between what the pro teams, like say a Fennel or a Crazy Raccoon, obviously they have their pro team players, Ras, Selly, the rest of them. They will come and join kind of the pro-am competitions, which is actually where we see like an insane amount of viewership as well. These pro-am tournaments invite musicians, artists, idols, celebrities from kind of broader walks of life than just gaming. So it really kind of brings in this incredible audience. And then we also see them outside of that when they play in kind of the pure pro competitions like the ALGS. So the ALGS is our kind of pro competition that we run. It's run by the CGE team in EA. They do a fantastic job. We're just going into our second season now. So we're just running kind of the qualifiers for teams that aren't already qualified. They can get in and become part of the action. So if anybody's watching this and they think, oh, I'm pretty good at Apex, you should come and give it a go. Try and qualify and become part of the ALGS gang. And they come into these pro tournaments and they represent Japan, they represent Korea, they represent all the different regions within Asia. We have some incredible, APAC South players as well, kind of from Australia and Southeast Asia. So, I mean, it really is great to see kind of this big swelling of competitive gaming, especially coming out of Japan. It's definitely a kind of cultural shift that we're seeing.
Since you talk about tournaments that you organize and whatnot, I think like during COVID-19, it's actually pretty stressful when to run a tournament. So like, how do you guys solve this kind of problems? Because I believe a lot of companies also having the same problem, that sometimes they can only organize an online tournament, but because of online, right? Sometimes there are many methods that players could have cheated or things. How do you like keep things under control when you run battle royale tournaments? Because Apex Legends consists with a lot of players involved and different teams at the same time. Then how do you manage this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so you're right. COVID has had a huge impact on pretty much every aspect of the gaming industry, for better and worse. I think esports, obviously, part of the allure and the excitement are those live events. When you can get everybody together in one place and have kind of the big celebratory moment of somebody winning it all. So
I think also buying the merch when you actually go to the event.
Well, yeah, I think it's the whole thing, isn't it? It's kind of the experience of being live and seeing kind of these incredible pro players playing, insane moments in the game, final circles where somebody pulls off an incredible move and wins the whole thing. I think
that also the energy
exactly. It's the energy in the room that's been missing. So for us, it was. Obviously, I can't speak too closely to it because I didn't actually organize it, but we've got an incredibly talented CGE team who pivoted incredibly quickly, and we were able to move to kind of the online qualifying process. They did a fantastic job in just ensuring that communication was extremely clean. We partner with a few different partners who help us run the tournaments. So there's clear communication kind of on Discord channels that ensure everybody knows where they need to be, when they need to be, and just kind of really helps with the running of the tournament. So, last year's one, I think I spent a lot of time with kind of 3 screens because I was trying to watch it, I was trying to tweet about it, and I was trying to also do some emails about it as well. So it was a very digital experience. So I'm looking forward to some real life ALGS finals action in the near future.
So do you think that next year can we have an offline event anytime soon, or do you think that it might wait a bit longer?
I would love to have one as soon as possible personally, but obviously we need to ensure that the health and safety rules are strictly followed. So we don't have anything lined up yet. But we will be looking to, ensure that we can come back safely, because I think everybody in the business is super excited to get back to those live events and enjoying the energy that they bring.
I have one more question about Apex Legends, because I think right now it's the 10th season for Apex Legends, right? So when I think every new season you guys will introduce new stuff. It could be agents, it could be skins or whatnot. So what are the thought process behind every installment? How do you guys decide what kind of stuff should we add in? Does balancing the balance of the game actually affect the decision, or we're going to change the meta, or depends, or a player's feedback?
So I think this question may be so much better answered by somebody from Respawn. I think Respawn have got this awesome team that are already looking way down the line, and they're building out kind of the next kind of 4 seasons or so. They really look far ahead. What we receive is almost like the brief of the season. So they'll come and they'll be like, hey, this is what season 10 is going to be about, and they'll introduce it to us and they'll tell us the story. And then it's kind of up to us. We'll see the objectives that are set for this season, whatever they might be. We then kind of take them down and we'll look at it from a regional level. So we'll kind of think about, okay, so this is going to be the legend, this is going to be the map. These are going to be the key details that are going to be around this season. What is the way that we can communicate this in a way that is going to, get people excited in the region? How do we ensure that this makes sense to somebody in Thailand or somebody in Japan? So kind of part of our job is to kind of take these global kind of points of view and plans and ensure that we pull it down and we activate and execute along our strategies to ensure that we show up regionally, in a culturalized fashion. I think that we give feedback. We definitely kind of pass back information to Respawn. I think they take it on board, and I'm excited really for kind of the coming seasons. I think that, we've seen so much over the past kind of couple of years within Apex. If you look at season 0 to where we are now, the amount of work that's gone into that is quite incredible. And I think the future is just looking as bright. I think we'll see a lot of innovation. I think there's going to be a lot more for players to get involved with. I'm really excited to kind of help bring that to all the audiences in Asia.
Anything you can tell us about the upcoming seasons?
I'd love to, but no, I can't talk to that, unfortunately.
I'm just trying my luck,
Trying to get that edge and the competitors.
I think I wanted to move on to questions that are less relevant to Apex, but maybe
Sure.
EA in general. Like companies like Microsoft or Google, they didn't really launch their consoles or Stadia in Southeast Asia. So I think maybe just Singapore, like Singapore and Xbox. But how does a company like EA maneuver around Southeast Asia region?
So I think there's a couple of points that need to be looked at here for this one. So I think the first one is that for EA, we want to show up better every time. We want to show up as a brand that understands and as a brand that's connected to the region. So, it means showing up where our players are, on the platforms that they're on, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It means understanding kind of the motivations behind the players and what's important to them. But also going beyond that, I think going back to the conversation we had earlier about, culturalization, it's not just translating something into Thai or into Indonesian. It's very much about understanding culturally what's happening and really kind of, what is going on in the region. How can you show up, add value to people, and be part of the community and be part of the culture that's happening in the region. So I mean, like my role is really about how we bring kind of all of this to life within the Southeast Asia region. I think previously I mentioned that listening was something we did a lot of around Apex, and it's something that really helps us across the region, whether it's social listening, whether it's listening to feedback, whether it's creating opportunities to engage with people directly and gather feedback. I think the kind of first major steps is really listening and understanding kind of what people are saying and what people want. I think also on top of that, I think it's important that the people within the regions actually can see themselves within EA. I think we're doing, at the moment we're increasing our presence within the region, especially through the mobile teams. So we've just hired people in Thailand on the ground. We've hired people on the ground in Indonesia. And we have a hub in Singapore as well, which kind of does a lot of work across the region there. So I think, it's understanding the players, understanding the culture, thinking beyond gaming. So I think kind of understanding kind of the socioeconomic stuff as well. It's kind of, if you're building a game that's just not going to be suitable for a region, you need to be aware of kind of where you're heading into and what that product and how that product will actually, fit within the market.
I wanted to ask your comments about like Southeast Asia in general, because I think like companies usually they separate regions into, sometimes countries into different regions. Like for example, let's say Japan, a region on its own, Korea, a region on its own, then Taiwan, Macau, Hong Kong. That's because it's the same language. But when it comes to Southeast Asia, right, I think we have like 11 countries. So 11 different countries, but we just, put all of them into one region. Like, do you think that this actually complicate the things when a company wanted to penetrate into this market? Like, what are the ideas or the ways to actually maneuver around the complications between different language that each country has?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think we're probably a little bit guilty of that at one point in the past, where it would be, oh, it's Greater Southeast Asia, and you kind of write that onto an Excel doc and that's it. But, the reality is people do the same with us for APAC. So it's like, oh, it's the APAC team. That's actually kind of, 6 or 7 different regions, and then you go to the Greater Southeast Asia region, and that's another 6 or 7 different regions inside itself. So I definitely hear you on that. I think what we are doing now is really trying to put people on the ground within these regions, so that we can define exactly what these regions need. So I think it's kind of, you're right, it goes beyond language, it goes into the cultural aspects, and ensuring that, we understand the opportunities that are there and are in a position to, identify communities, work with people, and generally just show up a little bit closer to the regions. So there's definitely a few things in the works at the moment, which I'm hoping over the next kind of couple of, weeks to months will, really kind of help us connect stronger within kind of a couple of the Southeast Asia regions initially.
Out of so many countries, which country that you think that actually has the most potential?
Has the most potential? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it could be on revenue-wise, it could be on player base-wise. It really depends on how you want to define potential.
So, I mean, I think there's a few. I think that there's an awful lot of regions coming up in Southeast Asia that are, growing so quickly that you can't overlook them. I think Thailand's probably one of the more developed regions within the Greater Southeast Asia region. But I think if you look at towards, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, I look at those as kind of being great opportunities. They're culturally diverse. They're a young, kind of really engaged audience, and they love mobile games. So I think it's kind of a real opportunity for us to take the time now to understand how to show up, how to engage. And yeah, like that's kind of where we would look to work first.
So can I say that, like, the primary market for Apex Legends would be Southeast Asia?
Overall, within APAC?
Yeah.
Or
overall?
So no, I think Japan would be the prime market for Apex Legends.
I'm talking about like Apex Legends mobile.
Oh, okay, mobile.
Yeah.
It's up there. I think we still believe that Japan will be the bigger of the opportunities out of the regions, but Southeast Asia is definitely up there when it comes to the mobile title. And we have seen, a lot of interest across the HD and PC platform over the last kind of 6 months as well. Okay.
I think just now you mentioned that you guys like work with content creators, right? I think in the last emails or video calls that we had, you spoke about like you guys also work with fandoms. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, sure. So fandoms is a really interesting
it's basically merchandise, like with A game titles, right?
So a little bit like that, but I think it's actually more about audience than merchandise. I think the way that I like to think about it is that if you're looking to grow kind of your gaming audience and make people aware of your brand. So let's take Apex, for example. If we look at Japan, it's kind of this first person shooter. We've got a lot of kind of core gamers who are interested in our title. But understanding the fandoms that exist within Japan is really interesting, as it allows us to engage with certain individuals who have got their own communities that are quite separate from our existing ones. So I think a good example could be, let me think, we've got a singer, an idol singer called Yamada. So he is, he's a celebrity within Japan, extremely famous. He loves playing Apex. We engage him. We've engaged him once or twice to work with us. And it's great because it's a proper partnership. It's this moment of, okay, so this guy loves Apex. He loves playing Apex. But then him playing Apex not only brings our community over to his channels, whether it be YouTube or Twitter, it also allows his audience to see, this game being played by, someone they're really, interested in and excited by. And, it's about combining those fandoms and those communities, and actually generating a lot more noise and a lot more engagement from it. I think another good example is we understand our audience, and that they've got interests outside of gaming. It's like some people are just super hardcore gamers, but a lot of people also have other interests, such as music or art or fashion. So we actually partnered with a streetwear brand called X Large in Japan. And personally, this was quite exciting for me. I remember being 21 and going to New York and going to the X Large store, which is on Lafayette, on Manhattan. And like that will always be a memory for me. And then suddenly this opportunity arose for us to actually engage with them in Japan and kind of go, hey, would you would you partner with us and make us some t-shirts? And it was as simple as that. They were on board, we were on board. From there, it's actually kind of started to grow into kind of some of their music artists as well. So it really is about understanding, who your audience are and where you're at, but then understanding the stepping stones and connections that you can build to really expand into kind of, a whole new world and a whole new audience that perhaps aren't, massive gamers, but suddenly, introducing them to this world of Apex through kind of, people that they're hugely popular, hugely big fans of. It's a really great way of being able to authentically talk to people and get people excited about your title. And, for us, get people into the story. I think the story of the Outlands and kind of the whole lore piece that exists around Apex, for some people it's not that important, but for others, it's a real, it makes the game for them to have kind of that deeper story, the Outlands coming to life through kind of the content that's created by, the Respawn team. We see across Asia that this kind of lore or story-driven content resonates a lot more than kind of the more commercial focused content that you might want to push out.
I think it kind of like works both ways. Like they drive people to Apex drive people to them, right? Mm. And I'm like a big sucker to all this merchandise. So whenever my favorite game have a new merchandise that they work with someone else, then most of the time I would just spend money on them. It's just how I am. But so you guys just, I think FIFA launched about a week ago. I believe it's last week. So you have anything that you want to tell us about FIFA? I mean, since FIFA is one of the biggest titles for EA, right? So I think there's probably a lot of things that you want to talk about.
I mean, I remember we talked about this previously, and it's kind of, there's not much data that I can share, unfortunately, around kind of FIFA. I think for Southeast Asia, I hope that some of you managed to tune into our launch live stream that happened on Facebook. I think the team did a fantastic job in organizing a launch moment, again, going back to my moments, where they managed to engage Rich Bryan, who's part of the 88 Rising group and originally from Indonesia. And we actually managed to get him to come on and do kind of a live stream with us, introducing FIFA 22 across the Southeast Asia region. We had our FUT United captains involved, so we were kind of touching in Thailand, touching in Hong Kong through Tagore. And yeah, we just had a really fun launch for FIFA 22 in Southeast Asia. I think we've seen a really good start to FIFA 22 this year. We've seen a lot of positive comments, a lot of good feedback. I think, there's obviously, we're continuing to push and try and drive as much inclusion as we can around this title. I think, within our kind of neck of the woods, the Indian Super League's been added this year, which for us is, it's great to kind of see a lot more leagues being added, although, the Premier and the Liga and the Bundesliga, they'll always be, the big leagues that people will want to engage with. But I always find that kind of it's interesting to look at the depth and kind of understand all the other leagues that are around the world and just showing how global, football is. So I think that's kind of a really interesting opportunity in FIFA 22. Personally, I'm a casual FIFA player. I remember playing FIFA 94 or 95, the first one that came out. I got a Mega Drive for my Christmas, and I played FIFA pretty solidly for that Christmas period. But now, I find myself picking up career mode, getting into that. I'm enjoying that so far in FIFA 22. And I still have yet to try Volta Arcade, because I think that looks fantastic for me. It's kind of the party games with friends in Volta. So I'm looking forward to getting some time on that kind of shortly. That's pretty much it. I mean, I think it's going well so far.
We did a review on FIFA, and I think my team of journalists, they actually got a question, which is like the hypermotion feature, and they were asking that why is the feature not included in PC? Is there a reason why that?
Yes, there is. So bringing the hypermotion technology to and the immersive match day features to PC. It would raise the minimum specs and actually made a lot of and resulted in a large proportion of the players actually unable to run the game. So that was kind of the decision, that kind of the reasoning behind why they decided not to include it in the PC version. I think if they pushed it, it would have really impacted our PC community. Obviously, we want people to have the most authentic and best experience they can, but this was definitely not an easy decision to make. But yeah, I think the decision was made that they'd rather push forward without the hypermotion, so that everybody could jump in and play, rather than kind of include hypermotion and actually look to separate the community on PC in that way.
So do you think that it's potentially possible that in the future that this could be included as a patch where people can turn on and off, or do you think that it's pretty hard to actually make it happen?
I don't actually know. I'm not able to answer that one, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Do you have anything else that you want to tell us, or do you think that there's something that we should know?
So yeah, I think that first, thank you for your time. It's been really good to chat to you. I think there's a few things that I'd like to kind of talk to. I think we're really, personally, I feel really lucky that I'm able to do the job that I do. I feel that to use a pretty cheesy term, I feel like I've got the best job in the world when I get to work for a great company like EA. I get to work every day with passionate, highly skilled people who are incredibly, driven to make the best gaming experience for players across Asia. I think that I'm really excited for the future in Asia for us. I think we've got a lot of really interesting mobile titles coming. I'm excited to see kind of Apex going to the further levels. And yeah, I just think that we're going to continue to drive and try and create the most inclusive space for gaming, and continue to drive kind of a really positive message across the region. And yeah, hope that you'll be part of it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Liam. I think most of my team actually look forward for the new Apex season. So I suppose we're gonna move on to the Q&A session after this.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Liam's chat, because I know I did. But for now, we're going to take a short break. Because in this break, something special is going to happen. As you enjoy the break, because I know we both have nothing else better to do, I'm going to give away some gamescom NFTs in the break. So stay tuned. I'm going to come back right in and pop out again and give you some exclusive NFTs.